what are like what are the bastards of moving, meaning items in a home? Like if someone's DIYing, like let's give some perspective on like what is the most complicated thing to do?
If you're DIYing, I think the most complicated thing to do, well, the thing it's not complicated, but it's very frustrating, is freaking IKEA furniture, because it just has a freaking bajillion bolts in it, you know, and you got to break it down because it's particle board, and 9 times out of 10 it's going to break in the truck anyways. But some really hard items.
Hold on, lean into that. So like, all right, you show up. I got 6 IKEA pieces of furniture, right? I got like a table, some bookshelves, a bed, and you know, one of them freaking Swedish wooden chair things. You know, like you have to disassemble that. What are the steps that your team does in that disassembly, like to keep everything organized?
Yeah, no, absolutely. So we'll put all the hardware in a bag. We'll label the bag, and we'll tape it to the piece, not directly to the piece, but around the blanket on the outside. We'll wrap them all the pieces as we take them apart. We'll wrap them in blankets, and then on the other end, you know, we'll essentially unwrap everything and put it right back together.
That's good advice, though. Like, hey, if you're going to disassemble something, you better have a plan for what you're going to do with all those components, because when it came to you, it was in a box the size of this table.
And it had instructions then, but it probably doesn't now.
That's right.
And take pictures. So if you're DIY, and take pictures of things before you take them apart. That way you have something to reference back to when you put it back together if you forget.
Cool. What else? What else is the monsters of moving?
Any pianos upstairs. You know, pianos are pretty easy to get with a couple people if they're, you know, single story, going one floor to one floor. Same with safes. But once you start getting stuff that's upstairs, a good bit of stairs, and especially with tight turns, that's where it gets really, really difficult.
Let me ask you this: have you ever had any issues when you're moving pianos to where like the tuning, like, or is the homeowner kind of doing that themselves? Like when you move it, they get it.
Anytime you move a piano, regardless of who moves it, how they move it, you know, you want to let the key settle for a little while, maybe 2 weeks to a month, and then you get it retuned. You're going to always, no matter how you move pianos, you're always going to have to retune them. Even like these big orchestra concerts and stuff like that, you know, they're having to get people to come retune them as they move these pianos.
I bought my daughter a little antique baby grand. Yeah. And that's what she wanted. She's like, I want a real piano.
Oh yeah.
And so for her birthday, 3 years ago, 2 years, I don't even remember now, but we got one.
Nice.
And it was pristine. And the guy that had it, they were moving. He was like a music professor or something.
Yeah.
And he was relocating to Texas, and like he had like 4 of them. And he was like, I can't take this one.
Yeah.
And he was like heartbroken to sell it to me, but it was tuned perfectly, all this stuff. And then like his biggest concern was like, do you know how to care for this piano? Like, and it's like an obsession. And it was like, you know, it's got to be on an interior wall. Don't put it on the exterior wall of your home because the temperature changes and like all this stuff. And I'm like, get out of here, bro.
Yeah.
And I just remember it being a big deal. And he had a recommendation like, hey, there's a piano company that can move it for you. And kind of like they know what to do because it's older and it's got a million things. Like we lifted the thing up and I'm like,
it's wires everywhere.
But in moving it, it was in winter, and moving it from his home in the moving truck, the temperature change was enough to throw the tune out. And so like we had to like have them tune it once they set it up and everything like that. So that's a whole nother animal, man. I can't imagine, like, you know, but yeah.
But luckily we have vendors and stuff too that can help with the tuning on the process. So, you know,
plus they weigh 1,000 pounds. So.
Oh yeah, they're heavy, especially the baby grands and grands, or like the really old antique uprights. You know, you've seen the ones that are like that tall.
Yeah,
those are a pain.
Yeah, those are beasts.
But yeah, other than that, you know, typical. You know, you run into a lot of issues where maybe the item's not really that heavy, but it's awkward, right? Like you have to shift it a certain type of way. You ever seen that Seinfeld pivot? You know, you run into situations like that all the time. But the best thing to do is just don't get frustrated. Take a step back, breathe, think through, because if it got in there, it can definitely get out.
Right.
You just got to take your time and think through it.
So let me ask you this in terms of, you know, like equipping people, because here's the thing. We know 50% of people are going to do this themselves. Mm-hmm. And some people are like, this is unpacking for them all the thought process behind it to where they might go, I'm hiring that guy.
Yeah.
Equipment. So like in your perspective of doing this every single day, like if you're going to DIY this and you're going to do it and you want to be, have the best outcome.
Yeah.
What kind of equipment, like in terms of like dollies versus, flat bottom dollies or, hand trucks or what do you think they should be looking for?
Yeah. What I think we should be looking for is what we put in our trucks. So I'll just tell you what we put in our trucks.
Yeah, let's do it.
So we every truck comes with 100 blankets, 2 dollies, 2 regular 2-wheel dollies, 3 or 4 Chicago dollies. Those are the little flat 4-wheelers.
Yeah.
If there's a piano on the job, we'll bring a piano board. And then think about ratchet straps. That's what a lot of people really don't think about when they get like these U-Hauls, because we'll help load the U-Hauls as well, and we'll show up, and they won't have any straps to like tie in the back. You don't need many. Really, if you pack it appropriately and it's all the way from floor to ceiling, you can get away with just one on the back. Really, you can get away with none, but it's always good just to have that extra security. We keep 11 or 12 in all our trucks, and then shrink wrap, some packing tape. We use packing tape to save shrink wrap, so like dressers and stuff like that, we'll just put a blanket on it and tape around it. Just as protected, just as safe, and a little less messy on the other end when we unwrap it as well.
Thanks, guys, for tuning in to the Barndo Show podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or wherever you're listening to this content, hit subscribe so you don't miss an episode. And then be sure to check us out on all of our social media platforms at the Barndo Co. Super simple to find us. And then when you're ready to dive in a little more, maybe look around some of our available floor plan options or take a look at the gallery of our work, or maybe you're ready to connect with our team and explore what it looks like to build your dream barndominium, you can visit us online at thebarndoco.com.